I feel like at this point, stablecoins have become just a very common thing to talk about. And most people don't realize how these stablecoins actually affect the underlying networks that they're issued out on. And I've always said it's all based on supply and demand. The more demand that you have for a stablecoin that's issued out on a network, the more transactions, the more volume, value transacted with stablecoins, it affects the underlying network, which is already powered by a gas token. We could just use the XRP ledger and XRP for an example here. The more that stablecoins get utilized on the XRP ledger, the more that it impacts XRP, then the value goes up. So again, we are focused on stablecoins and how big they are becoming. And right now, almost $270 billion in market cap just going off of RWA.XYZ. On CMC, I think that the market cap is at the high, like almost $300 billion level. But monthly transfer volume has been surging, $3.47 trillion right now. Holders are also up 2% in the last 30 days. We're almost at 200 million holders. So again, when we're thinking about this, stablecoins just continue to grow more and more and more. Now, yes, we are 100% focused on the top players here. We're also talking about, ROUSD as well, because ROUSD is up almost 20% in the last 30 days, sitting at almost $700 million. Monthly transfer volume is over 3.5, almost $3.6 billion as well. So again, if we're thinking about ROUSD, it definitely is, a part of the big picture here for stablecoins and just overall stablecoin adoption. And these are the types of stablecoins that I personally see being a part of the space for the next 10 plus years, because it's a stablecoin that is fully regulated, fully compliant, fully backed in a very transparent way. They give us monthly breakdowns of, the whole backing behind ROUSD and everything about ROUSD. And you could technically say the same about USDC, is that almost everything is fully transparent. So these are the types of stablecoins that I'm fully focused on. But it's not just about stablecoins. It's also about tokenization. And tokenization on the XRP ledger has grown over 20+% in the last 30 days, sitting at about almost $306 million. This is a great start. Obviously, we have a lot more to go here for the XRPL because we're looking at least $1 billion plus by the end of this year. We don't know if that's going to happen. But over time, we will see trillions of dollars on almost all of these public networks, because it just makes a lot of sense, especially the ones that are extremely, efficient, extremely valuable in the sense of, what they offer. So when we think about the XRPL and all the efficiencies tied to it, yeah, I do think that trillions of dollars will be on the XRP ledger and moving over the actual ledger as well. So if we're thinking about that, we need to be looking at everything happening to make sure that this becomes a reality. Like, for an example, stablecoins. Now is the best time to lock in with ITrustCapital, where you could tap into their Roth IRA crypto-designed platform, or even their premium custody account that allows you to hold crypto safely and soundly. You never have to worry about if your crypto is going to disappear overnight, because this is a closed loop system. Assets are held one-to-one off balance sheet, US-based live client service, institutional custody, tax reporting, and 24/7, 365 buying and selling. I personally love the Roth IRA side of their platform. It's incredible, especially for tax advantaged trading as well as holding crypto. If you guys do want to tap into this, you guys are more than welcome to, utilizing my link down in the description below and my promo code as well, where you deposit $1,000 and they give you an additional $100 funding bonus. What are you guys waiting for? Sign up today. You won't regret it. Now holding more US treasuries than countries like Germany, Saudi Arabia, and even South Korea. This is a crazy, crazy statement. Holders of US treasury stablecoins versus top foreign holders. We can see that stablecoins now are holding more US treasuries than Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Germany, and the UAE. Every asset on chain. I couldn't agree more. We are witnessing the entire financial system changing, yet it doesn't seem like it, because again, it's happening quietly. Stablecoins are becoming a massive piece of the global system. They make up over 1+% of the global M2 supply, and they are now starting to become top holders compared to countries. This is no joke. But outside of stablecoins, we also see digital asset adoption accelerating in a big way. This past week delivered key developments spanning Fed supervisors signaling blockchain adoption to BNY and Goldman entering the stablecoin reserve business. The shift is clear. Traditional finance is embracing tokenization. Right off the rip, at the Wyoming Blockchain Symposium, which we did talk about in the on-no video from earlier today, Michelle Bowman, the vice chair for supervision at the Fed, gave a speech that signaled bank regulators must move beyond skepticism and embrace blockchain, recognizing their substantial potential to enhance efficiency, safety, speed, and customer experience in financial services. Change is coming. That's what she said. Yeah, this is a crazy confidence boost for crypto because, again, we now have major players from the Fed telling us, guess what? This is happening now, and banks must tap into this to embrace the efficiencies that blockchain has to offer. On top of that, BNY and Goldman Sachs plan to enter stablecoin reserve management business. Why wouldn't they? They understand how big the stablecoin market is becoming. They plan to launch a stablecoin reserve fund investing and managing reserve assets exclusively for Genius-compliant stablecoins. Well, we already know that RLUSD will be a part of that. BNY is already a prime custodian for RLUSD, so it makes a lot of sense. DBS launches tokenized structured notes on Ethereum. They launched tokenized structured notes on Ethereum to eligible investors on third-party digital investment platforms and digital exchanges ADDX, DigiFT, and HydraX. State Street provides custody for JP Morgan's digital debt services. State Street became the first third-party custodian live on JP Morgan's digital debt service, built on Kinexys's digital assets. The capability launched with a $100 million commercial paper issuance by the OCBC. Very interesting. So again, this is the type, it's crazy because when we look at this, we would never have thought that we would be at this point, at this stage in the market, right? But these are the types of moves being made in the span of a week. This is every week is something bigger than the last. And it's starting to accelerate more and more and more. Now, on top of this, the stablecoin boom is happening around the world, which is telling us, and it's giving us a hint at what's happening. All of the players are looking at blockchain, public blockchains. Here we have from the EU, they're weighing public blockchain for digital euro as well. They plan to accelerate work on their digital euro, so they want to tap into public blockchains with the response to the Genius Act. Because, again, if we're thinking about what happens here, well, they don't want dollar-backed stablecoins to dominate cross-border payments. They want to make sure that EU dominate it, or EU stablecoins also dominate as well, and not just have this sort of world where, the US is already weaponizing digital stablecoins. So they are aware of this. They want to get behind it, and they want to tap into public blockchains now for the digital euro. This is very interesting to see. Now, on top of that, Japan's FSA will approve the country's first yen stablecoin. This is also another big one. This is going to be launching as early as this fall, or at least it's set to launch as early as this fall. Another big one. And then China, of course, right? We talked about this. But this is all to counter what the US is doing. The race is officially on, which is also why we continue to see more and more moves happening. I mean, guys, if I refresh this, 8 hours ago, 12 hours ago, 14 hours ago, 16 hours ago, 17 hours ago, look at how many tokenization moves are being made in just a single week. I mean, we're 4 days in now. Guys, it's crazy how fast the market is shifting. Tokenization, stablecoins, it's all booming in a much larger way. And I really don't think people are aware of just how much bigger this is going to get. What we're starting to see now, all of this crazy, sort of accelerated push on tokenization and stablecoins, like everyone's like, dude, this is crazy. Like this is actually happening. Like these things are becoming a reality. Yeah, if you think it's crazy now, give it a couple months. Wait until Clarity Act gets signed into law. These things are going to look small compared to what hits this market, because I do think that, we're going to see a massive wave of institutional adoption. We're going to see a ton of institutional capital hitting this space as well. I mean, guys, we're in the very early stages of this. But also, let's go back in time a little bit. This got posted on the 23rd by High Vibe Assets, and we have Ripple has built the entire ecosystem. This is the crypto endgame. Pay attention. Tokenization of all assets on blockchain is the only way mass adoption can happen. Real estate, stocks, art, corporate bonds, everything. Check this out.
Yeah, I do think it's significant in many ways. I think, what you actually have here is you have a market structure, a regulated market structure that is wrapped literally around cryptographic tokens, in this case, Bitcoin tokens, and the safekeeping of those, the record keeping of those, and the actual, kind of underlying transfer and liquidity. And so that is a market structure that is now being interacted with by the very largest financial institutions in the world, and they're coming together and working with great firms like Coinbase and others who are providing the actual critical crypto infrastructure around some of this. So I think it's a very significant moment because it's demonstrating that you can have a security or a digital token and you can have those work together. But I think the broader piece here is it underscores that, at least in the case of the SEC, and you could read Gensler's comments, and I think he's being pretty transparent about how he thinks about this, which is he lost a court case and he's just doesn't want to get sued again. That's kind of what he said, but I think there is more, because I think that the SEC has a much deeper understanding of this whole field and of the technology and of the operators and the risks and what kind of disclosures you might need. I think there's just a far greater understanding than 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 3 years ago. It just continues. And so, when Larry Fink gets on television the next day and says, this is just the tipping point. This is the tipping point towards tokenization. The tokenization of financial assets broadly and of other types of property is going to change the way the financial industry works. It's going to, change access to finance and financial products and other things, which I deeply believe. I think that's an indicator that, I think BlackRock is perhaps one of the largest securities issuers in the world, and I think it suggests confidence that tokenization is going to be coming on in a significant way, and that we're going to see some of the very, very biggest asset issuers in the world issuing tokenized versions of those assets this year. And so that's significant. And so I do think it is not just about, is this validation for Bitcoin? I think it's about the whole technology architecture, what it represents. And I think, we're all sitting here because people are interested, right? And that this is here, and it's not going away. And so I think it's a significant shift for all those reasons.
And yeah, right? Like if we're thinking about this is Circle's goal. Like if we go back to that big announcement, right? Like if we're looking at all of these moves being made and we're thinking about all of the shift, right? The big shift in real time happening here. It's very clear that this is just the beginning phase of it. The biggest asset management companies are here, right? We can clearly see that with BNY being here, BlackRock being here. I mean, guys, we have ETFs tied to Bitcoin and Ethereum with a ton of applications for altcoin ETFs as well. And if we're thinking about tokenization at scale, like tokenization, currently speaking, the market for it is $26.48 billion. The actual public networks in this space are only close to about $15 billion. This is really nowhere near where RWA values will be hitting in the coming years. But when we think about what Ripple is doing, XRP and the XRPL is at the center point for what they're doing here. We have here real world asset tokenization is reshaping finance, making traditional assets more accessible and efficient. Learn more about how the XRP ledger is built for RWA tokenization. And even if we think about RWA tokenization on their website, we are immediately met with the XRP ledger. I've always said this, XRP and the XRPL are at the center point for what Ripple's trying to do with tokenization. And they are part of this big boom. They see the value of tokenization. They understand that there will be trillions on chain. And we even have here that the XRP ledger is trusted by financial institutions to tokenize and move assets at high speed and low cost with access to deep liquidity. It helps unlock operational efficiencies while supporting compliance at scale, empowering institutions to build the next generation of regulated finance. And yeah, listen, everything is moving on chain. I don't think that that's a secret at this point. We've been hearing about it from the SEC. We've been hearing about it from players from this current admin. We've also been hearing it from players like Larry Fink. This is already starting. We don't have to wait for the, big confirmation of, I wonder if this is going to be happening. I wonder if it, is going to start. No, it's been happening for quite some time now. The only issue is that everyone expects the, trillions of dollars to hit this market almost overnight. But we could see the big step functions. We could see the step function just from, the new year. This is the new year. Look at where we are at now. The value here has grown by almost $8 billion in just the last 8 months alone. So, again, this is only going to accelerate more and more and more, especially with, regulations really, I would say, given the green light to these institutional players to move more money on chain. We are just so early here, and this is going to be the biggest boom moment for XRP, in my opinion, because again, almost all these networks like XRP, HBAR, XLM, etc., they are going to really be the ones that reap the reward of, having that efficient tech stack, being, around the space for quite some time, being utilized and tested and trialed by some of the biggest names out there. Because again, it shows that they are working. It shows that they work. And they've been battle tested. So they're at like the front line, if you will, for blockchain adoption through tokenization, through stablecoin initiatives. And stablecoins are driving this entire push, in my opinion. Like when we think about how big stablecoins are becoming, it's only making this space more and more liquid, allowing for more and more use cases at scale to become a reality, like tokenizing asset classes like real estate. So I'm very excited about this. And with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because there's more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, thanks for watching. Peace out, guys.